Hi, it's Jane with the Compassion Project. I am here today with Megan Church.
Whoop, whoop.
And I'm really excited you're here, Megan, because today I think what we're talking about is so important. Just for women to get out of their own way and to love themselves. This is just really important. So a little bit about Megan. She is from Indianapolis, Indiana, and where she lives with her incredible partner, Derek. And together they are the dynamic duo. I was lucky enough to have them on the Compassion Project on May 28th. That was that was amazing. But I really wanted to bring Megan back on her own because she is such an inspiring woman with a heart to serve others. And she's a passion for empowering women all over the world to reclaim their self-worth and become comfortable in their own skin. She is known as the Self Sabotage Slayer. And she will help you repair the relationship you have with yourself so you can live your best life. Megan is also a health-based chef certified in integrative nutrition and a certified John Maxwell coach. That's incredible, Megan. I love John Maxwell.
Amazing.
Yeah, so this girl, we met quite a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago when I was in Indianapolis, and she was my waitress, and I don't know, there's something about her, and we ended up connecting and staying in touch.
We did.
So welcome, Megan. So today Megan's going to share a bit of her story because I always feel like when someone is so driven and passionate to help others, it usually comes from a place of, you know, what you've gone through because you have the empathy. So I'd love to start with, finding out what is it in you that drives you, like what happened in your past, in your story that made you want to help women.
Okay. Yeah, I will try to do the condensed version because this could go on and on and on. I struggled with body issues for a long time. My parent, it wasn't a thing with my parents. A lot of times, especially for women, it's passed on from their mothers and vice versa. My mom did not struggle with that, but it was a perfectionist problem I kind of learned. And started in sophomore year to junior year in high school, got called down to the principal's office asking if I was anorexic because I was starting to really look that way and just very controlling with things. And then my freshman year in college, my two brothers were in a car train accident and I lost my brother. And then
Okay, wait, hang on a second. I just want to clarify something. So where were you in the family? But like your siblings?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest, and then how many? Two brothers?
Two brothers. So it was just 3 of us total. Mm-hmm.
And so how old were you when?
I was 18. No, I was 19 because I had just turned 19. And they were younger, and it happened, and it rocked our world. It rocked our family's world. And the crazy thing is, and I don't have to dive into that as much, but just to show you the level that I was at, I was still worried about this during all of that.
But how old? Okay, I find this so interesting. I didn't know this. So how old were the two boys, and they were in a train?
Yeah.
Train crash?
No, they were in their car, and the train hit them. Like they slid through, and it hit them. And one of my brothers survived, and the other passed away on the scene. And
my goodness,
it totally rocked our family's world. And during that time, you know, we were living in the hospital and planning a funeral and making sure my surviving brother was going to survive because he had to be rushed into emergency surgery and all these things. And it's definitely tough on him, like with all of that. So I don't want to put too much emphasis on all that. But during that time, I was still struggling. I was struggling with my family stuff, with death, but yet the body stuff was still controlling me. Like I was worried when I was seeing people at the funeral home, were they going to know that I put on weight while I was at the hospital? Like all these things. And then what happened afterward when I felt like I was going down this dark hole. And so then I found cycling. I got into cycling, very performance-based, not like a physical body, like compare yourself to each other type thing. It was very active and I was always active in school. Well, I started putting on muscle, which means my weight started to go up, and I was really fixated with the scale. I weighed myself 4 times a day sometimes. And so it was this constant fixation to this number that does not represent anything other than a numerical number on a scale, but I attached my worth to it. And so I was having this battle with that. And then I was going to get married, and I hired a trainer because I thought it'd be really cool. I actually called the wedding off, spoiler alert. And I wanted to get in tip-top shape for this thing. And then I got fixated in that, and it pulled me in to do like the muscular figure competitions
Oh yeah, yeah.
and stuff. And I got to a point where I thought that if I could get on stage and I could show myself and like, I felt like that was the way I'd be comfortable in my own skin. They don't tell you that confidence is sold separately. Something to come back to later. So I remember when I was training for this thing, it was allowing my eating disorder to be okay, because I wasn't healed from that. And so, I had to control this, I had to control that, and I had to control this, and I had to look this certain way. And I remember there was a time in my life during that whole phase where I was okay if I didn't wake up the next day. And that's a moment where I really freaked out a little bit, and I called and talked to my mom. There wasn't any like suicidal anything, but it was just this, okay, I don't normally think like this, what's going on? And I got to that point and I was like, okay, things have to change. And then little by little, things did start to change. I started letting go of toxic relationships and started trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And as I started to do that, I made a shift that I wanted to move and become a health-based chef. So I moved to New York, studied integrative nutrition. I thought if I could just perfect the food thing and the body stuff, I became a personal trainer. If I could just perfect all those things, then I would have the answer. Well, what happened, same way with on the stage, I found out I was the most unhappiest I've ever been when I was on the stage. And then I moved away to New York and I started finding freedom, but yet I was still struggling with the food. I was still struggling with controlling everything, trying to perfect everything. And it would be like 4 days of perfection, then binge, then starve, then work it off, all this stuff. Finally, I had to reestablish my relationship with food and with body and surrendering and all the things that come with that to get to a healthy place, because the world teaches you to fear food. The world teaches you to count calories. The world teaches you that you have to look a certain way. And it really messes with you, especially if you've had body image issues and eating disorders and stuff. While I was in New York, I felt like I healed. I felt like I had time away. And I came back getting ready to meet everybody and see them, because I was gone for like a year and a half. Connect with everybody again. And one of my friends, who was also a client of mine, found out that she was sick with cancer. Didn't know, like it was a fast acting cancer. And immediately I freaked out because I hadn't seen her yet. I'd just gotten back. And I called her and I talked to her, and she had also struggled with some of the same issues that I had. Found out that she had adrenal cancer, which is like 1 in a million. And it was like stage 4, and it was really quickly. And we had a phone call that day, and it was only for like 30 seconds because that's all the energy she had. And she was telling me basically she didn't feel well, but she wanted me to go out there and kill it, basically. Like she said, at the time, my business name was different. She's like, go out there and make it huge and make me proud. And then she got off the phone. She died the next day.
Oh.
So it was like very, like I thought I was healed. I thought like I hadn't had any episodes. I felt like connected with myself, and I found myself. This is my rock bottom moment. So this is where it goes. I felt like the other pieces might have been part of the rock bottom moment, but I found myself in the Meijer parking lot that same day. I had bought stuff to binge on because that was a struggle. It wasn't my only struggle, but that was one of the struggles that I had tried to get away from that really controlled me for a long time. And I was binging and struggling and going back. It was like a relapse into something that was a big part of her struggle. And because bulimia was a big part of her struggle. And I was in the car. I can remember this so vividly. I was in the car just bawling my eyes out, saying, I can't do this. Like, help. That was like my prayer. That was like me saying, God, like, come on. Like, I can't do this. I just lost one of my best friends, and now I thought I was healed. And now look at me. Look at me. I have all this stuff around me. I just consumed all of this. Help me. And I swear the next day my life changed. And it wasn't, I don't believe it was a magic potion. I don't believe it was God coming in and saying, okay, finally you're ready to listen to me. Finally you're surrendering and you're letting me have some power and to help you, because you can't do this by yourself. And it's funny because it's not funny, but as I've studied addiction and self-sabotage even more, it was in some ways a form of that, but it's very strange. I don't feel like I had a food addiction. I don't feel like I had a workout addiction. I don't feel like I had struggles with it. It was something that did have a hold on me. And
it's a control thing. Because I mean, I myself, when I was young, went through the same thing, not the same as you, but similar with food and anorexia and bulimia and all those things as a teenager, but it's the loss of control.
mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I find it's so interesting that when your brother had passed away, there's more control is lost, and the only thing you can control, you're trying to control your food. It's you're controlling it, and then you start to get back, and then your friend dies.
Yep.
You lose control again. Like it's the loss of control, I think, is right.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? As life progressed, I would kind of get nervous because I knew the big events. Like I was struggling before my brother's passing. It wasn't right. That was like trying to restrict calories and overdo it workout wise, and just, I mean, that was bad. But this was something I feared was, okay, when the next loss happens, what am I going to do? When this happens, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue to revert and think I'm good and then go back? But what happened is I knew I was healed for sure. Not immediately after that day, because it was a few days and I didn't have the urges. I didn't have the triggers. I didn't have the things that would start to take control of me. And I was like, but you don't ever think it's over. You think, okay, when's it going to come back? And I, years down the road, had struggles with business. I lost someone that was really, really important to me in the form of business. I had just struggles in general with business. And then my dad passed away unexpectedly. Just a lot of like relationship things. I got cheated on and it was just things that would normally tear you apart, which they did. I felt like those would be the times where I would go back to that. And I didn't.
The triggers.
Yeah, it didn't even come up, which was crazy. I'm like, it's a miracle. That day in the car was a miracle. But
it's like a shift in your mind. Something shifted in you. And sometimes, and Tony Robbins says this, sometimes it can just take one moment, one thought, and your perspective changes, and you can change in a moment. And that's your moment in the car there.
And I think that there's a lot of teaching, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information that can get you to that point. But for me, it was a God thing. It was totally, there's a YouTube video that I watched of Tony Evans, where basically he said that, when something has a hold of you, when instantly you are healed immediately. It was like an immediate thing after suffering for 15 years with something that had a hold on me that much, where everything shifted and everything changed. And then, of course, then you have to reestablish this new relationship that you have, because food's going to look differently. And then you're going to still have people around you that are projecting their own struggles onto you, because that happened a lot with me. And their weird relationship with their bodies, you have to put boundaries around and not let that affect you anymore. So I don't know if you've experienced that too.
Maybe in a different way, but I think it's so interesting because you go through all that for 15 years, and you would not be who you are today if you had not gone through that, because you can now take everything you've learned, everything you've overcome. You have empathy to relate to other people that are going through it, and I think it actually gives me goosebumps. I actually think it's a beautiful thing when someone can go through something and learn from it and take it and be like, I've overcome this and I'm going to help you get through it. Because you can feel the pain of a woman that is going through that self-sabotaging behaviors. And I think during the pandemic, I don't know about you, but I just think it amplifies things. Like right? Like when
Mm-hmm.
social distancing and having to stay home more and really look at ourselves, a lot of the issues that women have gotten worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I told you right before we jumped on this, I posted a thing about body struggles and food and self-worth essentially yesterday on the page that I run, the Self Sabotage Slayers. And I mean, it just went on and on. There was like 250 comments of all people struggling, like hardcore struggling. And it does make me feel a certain way because I could put myself back into the car when I was like, on my knees, even though I was like sitting on my butt, but
Yeah.
like please help, like something, please, SOS. But
Yeah.
you have to be ready for that. You may think that it's impossible. You may think that this thing is going to have a hold on you forever, but you have to seek it. You can't just sit there and hope that it comes to you. You have to say, hey, help, I'm ready to do something. Like give me something else I can try. Like, because what I've done so far hasn't worked. It's got me better, but it hasn't got me healed. And that's the big thing. Like I wanted to be healed. I didn't want this taking away my energy. I didn't want it taking away my relationships. I didn't want it taking away my present moment where you're, with your loved ones and you're thinking about how many calories does this have? What am I gonna have to do after this to work this off? And you're obsessing about stuff that doesn't matter. Food's supposed to bring community. It's supposed to have connection. I mean, you love date nights. Like that's what it's supposed to be about. And I always think of the thing that I wanted so badly was just have a normal relationship with food. And I think about all the times when Derek and I have dinners and go on dates and stuff now. It doesn't even cross my mind, but that would have consumed me back then.
Yeah. And you know what?
What?
Honestly, Megan, it's so unfortunate, but there are so many young women struggling. I was determined as a mom of daughters. I have 2 daughters
Mm-hmm.
because I had struggled as a teenager with body image, eating disorders. I was not a girl that was overweight. I was like 120 pounds, 5'3" in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that moment, I think, especially when you're young, 17, 18, that all, like I was just being, and all of a sudden someone made a comment in high school or something happened, and my brain was like, oh, what do I look like to other people, or do boys like me, or what is it? And I remember getting in the mirror and looking at myself thinking, am I overweight? I didn't know, but all of a sudden I thought, I guess I am, because of North America and the way women are portrayed. And I think it's in North America, I think for women, it's like we have to change something. Young women have to be raised to know that they're beautiful. Their bodies are miracles, our hands, our feet, everything. And I just think it's a shame that we're so focused on the number on the scale. I actually, when I had daughters, I got rid of the scale. I don't own a scale.
Yeah.
And I taught them that they don't need the number. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're just like strong, powerful, like,
Mm-hmm.
and they both have very healthy body images, but we have to teach our daughters.
Yep. That's awesome that you were able to do that. Like that's huge because there's so many people that come to me that didn't have that their mothers projected their struggles onto them and now they have it. And it's either one way or the other. They either have an eating disorder or they just are so scared to put themselves out there, a fear of being bullied, even by their parents and by other people. And then just people at school bullying people when they were younger and being, fearful of what they were made like. And
Yeah. And I, like, if you were to suggest to someone, if there's someone that's watching and they're really struggling, what would you say is the very first step for someone that's really struggling with body image, food? I thank goodness I'm over it. I'm like 50. What am I? 56 now. It's a lifetime of work, but like, just what do you say would be the first thing for someone to break the cycle of sabotaging
I
behaviors?
think before I get to the first thing, I think that this is not going to be a quick fix because however long it took you to get to this point, it's just not going to, I mean, even when I had my miracle breakthrough, there was still work involved with that. But I think one of the big things is to get to the root. That's so powerful. If you can get to the root of what's what's causing your battles inside your mind. So is it that you don't feel worthy? Is it that you don't like your skin? Is it that you don't like your makeup, your shape, the way that your teeth come in, the way that, your hair, something, aging, whatever it is, identify the battle that you're facing, and it's time to battle it out. Like, put it on paper, say it in the mirror, say whatever it is and get it all out. Like, put it on there. And then I want you to name that bully, because we always think it's always someone else that's out there, but I want you to name your particular bully. Like, put a name to it. I teach this in a course. Like, think of someone maybe growing up, maybe it was a bully of yours in general, and call it that, so that when you're yourself being a bully, you call it out and you bring it out of the darkness into light, and it's not going to have power over you anymore. So you'd be like, dude, Bob, stop. That's mine. Bob, stop talking to me like that. Like, no, we're on the same team. Quit picking on me. Like, we're not opponents. And then once you can see that you're picking on yourself, then you're going to stop yourself in the tracks. And that's the biggest first piece, because it doesn't mean that that voice is not going to keep coming, but you're going to become aware of it, and you're going to be able to stop it a lot sooner. And eventually Bob's going to stay in the dark or whatever your name is, first up.
That's good. That's good. I think so, that I look at that as like the power of your thoughts. Like, I believe our entire life is based on our thoughts. It just is, because no one can get into our brains and control what we think.
Yep.
So when you become aware
Yep.
of the way you're talking to yourself, aware of your thoughts and your behavior, and you can say, no, I'm not going to talk like that anymore. And you switch it, and you probably do this.
Yep.
It's actually something that you have to learn, and it's not easy to learn because we're habit creatures. But when you start to become aware of how you're thinking, you're like, I'm good. Like, I'm healthy. I'm grateful for my body. Like, I don't know. Do you listen to Zig Ziglar?
Oh, love Zig Ziglar. My mom used to play Zig Ziglar in the car in our station wagon growing up. So when she would go and run us places, I grew up with that in my head. Yeah.
Okay, so there's like very powerful in Zig Ziglar, and it's called Born to Win. I've listened to it in my car. And I always remember the one story, and I don't remember the lady's last name. It's Betty something. She lost her eyesight. I don't know if you've heard that story. Yeah, so she was in the news way back, like Zig would have been in the 50s and 60s. So he tells this story because he tries to get women and men, but I'm going to use women in general, to know their value, know their worth. And the story of this woman, Betty, who has a rash on her face, and she goes to the doctor, and the doctor gives her cream. The cream gets into her eye and causes blindness. And then the cream somehow got the other eye, and she went completely blind. So she was trying to get rid of that rash, ended up losing her sight.
Yep.
And there was a settlement, insurance claim that went out, and she got $1 million for this. So he stands in front of the audience and he says to everyone in the audience, you are worth $1 million. And he said, right now, every single one of you right now is worth $1 million. So you need to stand tall. You need to know your value. And he told that story, and he said, right now, come up on the stage. You'll give me your sight. I will give you this $1 million if you give me your sight. There's not one person in the audience that would give me their sight. So you're worth $1 million. Stand tall. And I was like, I literally, it made me like, never thought of that. I would never give my eyesight for $1 million. No way. Who would? You have value. Like, so we don't take, like, when we open our eyes in the morning, we just open our eyes. It's like, no, open your eyes and be like, I am so grateful.
Yep.
And so, I really look at that, and it's like what you're saying is the first step is becoming aware of your thoughts. And I look at that as also being grateful for what we have, right?
Well, and that's another thing too. Like, okay, if you're complaining about the same body parts every day, or putting yourself down for certain things, switch gears, turn on the light, and say, okay, what do I like about myself right now? Okay, if you're still not to that point, drop it down to the bare minimum. Dude, you're breathing. Okay, check. With people not breathing so hot. Second thing, your heart is beating. Check. Like, get it to the bare foundational level and then build off of that. Because it's like what you said, if you don't have your eyesight and you're used to having your eyesight, you're going to miss your eyesight. You're going to miss the things that you take for granted. And
I know.
That's a reality check.
I've gotten into a habit. I've literally created a habit of being so grateful. And like every single morning I get up early and I look out at our view and I say, I'm so thankful for my sight. And it's because of listening to Zig Ziglar. And
Mm-hmm.
I just think, I don't know, it just makes me sad that Megan, if I could go back to my 17-year-old self, because I mean, I was lost and I was like 93 pounds and I just didn't know how to love myself. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't know. I was just starving myself to death. If I could go back
Mm-hmm.
right now as my older self and say, Jane, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
You're beautiful. You're healthy. You're going to get married one day and you're going to have this man that adores you and your body is perfect because our imperfections make us perfect.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. It's so true. That's
I
like,
know.
you want to go back and be like, whoo. But at the same time, it's like, would you really appreciate these things too if you didn't go through what you did and have the compassion? So it's like, would I change things? No. Sometimes when I look at things, I'm like, man, that was a long battle. But it's like, I'm glad where I'm at right now, and I'm glad I have that strong foundation. But I don't ever want people to think that it wasn't a struggle. And it's not like, it's like the thing that I said earlier about being able to have dinner with Derek and not worry and like
Yeah.
present. That was something I prayed for and I wanted for so long. And sometimes we don't stop, and we don't stop and reflect on how far we've come. That reflection piece is everything. Like to just stop. I'm like, man, remember last year when we couldn't XYZ? Like think about with COVID right now. Remember when we used to be able to go anywhere?
I know. When we could go anywhere and not wear a
Mhm.
mask.
And no mask, like man. So it's
I
about
know
not.
it's crazy. Actually, someone was commenting here. I'll just put one up. Food is such an important part of every culture, and it should be a source of joy and connection and health, not to create. Oh, that is so true.
So true. And that's like honestly in diet culture, I think that's where you have to be careful too and having boundaries around other people's struggles. Because for me, when I was going through the next phase of, okay, I surrendered, I don't have the struggle anymore, but now I have to, I was made new. I felt like I was a new person. So I had to be around a bunch of other people that weren't where I was at. So I had to put my guard up to not revert backwards. And so when people would comment about their bodies or comment about food, or you've been to a dinner party and like, oh, I can't eat that low carb. Oh, I can't eat that low fat. Oh, I can't eat that paleo or whatever, keto, macro, or whatever it is. Be like, okay, like that shouldn't be the focus, but clearly they're struggling with it. But don't feed into it, and don't allow yourself to then question, like, man, like, ooh, should I be doing that too? Because I don't look like such and such. I think it's really having that firm foundation with yourself, thinking about what you truly value. So for me, and probably for you too, I value having freedom. That's one of my highest values, is having that peace of mind and the freedom to be who I am and to be loved for that. And if people don't love me for that, they're not my people. And so to continue to just like, it's like you're re-nurturing your relationship with yourself and with food, with the world, with people that are still struggling, with people that are free. Like it's like a totally different thing, and it's just a day by day step on life.
Wow. Yeah. And I think that the interesting thing too is when you're dealing with a food and body image, food isn't something that we can stop eating. Like if someone is going through alcoholism or other addictions, it's very difficult.
Yep.
I know that, but food, you have to have it every day. So you have to be able to control. So you I just want to talk a bit about a chef. You went to New York to become a chef. So you really learned in there. Is that where you really?
Yeah, the school actually shut
started?
down like last year or something. They actually got bought out by the Culinary Institute of America, but it was such a neat experience. I'm glad I did it, but I also did it because I was trying to perfect my own imbalances with food. But now I have this on my resume. So like, and I love
Right.
food. I knew a lot about food prior to, and I love it from the freedom aspect now, because I know how to do a lot of stuff with different vegetables. I know a lot of stuff with spices. I know a lot of really being resourceful with food, ask any chef. Chefs know how to be resourceful with food. Like, you might throw out, they're like, no, let's turn this into this. And, you know, you can take one thing that you prepare at the beginning of the week and like transform it every single night. Or make good enough leftovers that you're not getting sick and tired of eating bland food. So
Yeah.
it was an amazing experience.
So what, you then went on, you've learned all this, you've gone through so much, and now you have a website. It's called megchurch.com, which we will put up. And you have something coming up, don't you? You've got, what is it? The Bulletproof
View. Yep. So
Can you tell people about that?
So essentially, I'm trying to get clear. I'll just share this with the world. I'm trying to get more and more clear and not be categorized with all the people that do food and nutrition and body and just like physical training. Even though all that stuff I've done and there's pieces of it within the program, I want to make you feel bulletproof. I want to make you feel like you have this bond with yourself that's unbreakable, so that you can go out into the world and truly be that person. And you're not going to let body image disorders break you. You're not going to let family stuff break you. You're not going to let the worldly stuff break you. You're not going to let people that still are struggling or relational stuff. Basically, it's reestablishing and repairing the relationship you have with yourself so you can go out in the world and dominate as yourself. And that's what I'm big about. I'm big about relationships, the one with yourself and the ones with your romantic partner or soon to be romantic partner. And when you have that strong foundation in both of those areas, it's in God's design to be that. Like, you're supposed to be a unique version, one and only version of yourself out in the world. The same thing. There's a person out there, if you're not already with him or her, that is made for you. And when you have that firm foundation and rooted in yourself first, sky's the limit with your relationship. Sky's the limit what you can do on this earth and stuff. So yeah, Bulletproof View is like an online course that gives you your power back and gives you that value, gets to the roots. I had a friend of mine, I had her on earlier this week, interview her and her experience. And it's not, like I said, it's not a weight loss thing. It's just turning your power back on to yourself and making you comfortable in your own skin. And she said, working with me was like getting a root canal. And I was like, huh? And she said, because she's like, it hurts at first because she's like, makes you go to the root. But then as soon as you get to the root, there's relief. And I was like, yes. And the thing is, my dad that passed away 5 years ago was a dentist, and my mom's a hygienist. So it's all like roots and roots.
But you know, it's so true though, because you can't fully love another person until you love yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's why so many relationships struggle. So Megan and Derek are also the relationship dynamic duo in relationships. Mm-hmm. But I have learned that. I mean, I've been married 34 years, but throughout the years, if I'd gone through times where I wasn't loving myself or not feeling good, the relationship struggles. But when you're really loving yourself and feeling good, it comes out and you can fully love someone else. So that's the first step. I was actually listening to, I told you, Louise Hay today. She put, loving yourself is the most powerful thing you can do. Mm-hmm. Respecting and appreciating the beautiful being that you are. And then she talked about when you're little, when we're babies, 1, 2, 3, we love our bodies. We love our feet and our hands and our rolls, and we're in complete joy. Yeah. And that's us. Yeah. We're the same. Now we're adults, but we loved ourselves then. We're not worried about anything. Nope. It's just learning to love yourself truly for like the miracle we are, and being grateful every day. Yeah. But so Bulletproof View is going to help people get back to that feeling of just accepting themselves exactly as they are in the moment and embracing it.
Yeah. Right? Like essentially, it's like 3 steps. We battle, like I said, you battle the struggle, whatever struggle it is that you're in. Then you go through the breakup with the bully.
Yeah.
Which is yourself. The guy, whatever it is that's bullying you. And then you becoming is an ongoing process. It's not a quick fix. It's not something that's just gonna, okay, I've arrived. No, that's not how it is. It's just an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
You wake up, you learn, you seek, you grow.
Amazing. You are going to help so many women. Honestly, I think it's so important. I think it's so important even before the pandemic. I just think now with the pandemic, it's even, there's a lot more women struggling because they are stressed. I think, I don't know, but I don't know what it's like where you live with the pandemic. It's people are starting to get in a routine and a habit now that's different.
Mm-hmm.
But at first, I think it was really stressful and emotional eating.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what's happening in your city with pandemic right now? Is it?
It's back to masks, and like at the gym, it's still, having to be a certain amount of feet away and not being full capacity and stuff. But like for the most part, we haven't really gone and done a lot of things. Like we still, I don't know, have been really, really careful. I know not everybody is doing that, but
Yeah, you have to do what's right for you and just respect everyone else. So anyway, I think what you're doing is amazing. Reach out to Megan if you're interested in her Bulletproof View. Is it start on a certain date, or can people just go and join anytime?
People can go on now. I'm doing it towards the end of this month and start of next month. But yeah, it's open. You can go
and you find it on megchurch.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think the last thing I would say is don't think that taking care of yourself is selfish, because you're going to look back one day if you don't take care of your temple, yourself, and love yourself, and you're going to have so much resentment in your body as you try to take care of everybody else. It's going to come out in rage. And I think that if you can look at self-care as being a selfless thing, you're going to be able to show up. You're going to be able to be vibrant with people. You're going to be able to be energetic, and it's not going to be this low vibrating energy when you serve. And that's the highest level that you can get to, I feel like, is when you serve.
Yeah.
So
amazing. Yeah. And start your day off with looking in the mirror and saying, I love you to yourself.
Yeah.
Because it actually is not an easy thing to do for a lot of people to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I love you, and really see yourself and how you would talk to a best friend, like, and I think it's a really powerful way to start the day to just.
Well, I had my girls in Bulletproof do an exercise where they had to look at themselves in the mirror, and they had to write Post-it notes and tell them what they actually were, even if you didn't believe it yet, because you're like building a new dialogue in your head. And one of my girls who I interviewed, she's so funny. I've had her on my Facebook page, Michaela. First, she's like, Meg, I just thought that was kind of stupid at first. I'd be like looking at myself. She's like, had eyelash still hanging off, and like no makeup, just like. And then all of a sudden she's like, yes, yes. It just takes time, and she's so funny. So.
I mean, we have to do it, and I think we have to teach our daughters to do it and our sons. And I've seen a little YouTube video where they stand a little girl in the mirror, and she's like, I'm great, I'm beautiful, I'm strong. I was like, yeah, start them young.
You get it started in their head, and they're not going to think otherwise.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will sign off. Thanks everyone for watching. And yeah, and you can reach, I'll just put this up one more time, the banner, reach Megan.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks, Megan. You were incredible.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.